attendance, and we're going to bring them up on stage. Please welcome the director, Alex Thompson, and the star and the writer, Kelly O'Sullivan.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to the Chicago Critics Association. It's a huge honor. Thank you to the Music Box for providing the dream venue for the Chicago premiere. And if I could just say really quickly, this film would not have happened without Chicago. With the exception of two well-meaning assholes from Los Angeles, this is an entire Chicago group. So could everybody involved with the film stand up just for a second? Thank you for standing.
Yeah, thank you so much. Nobody got paid enough on this film. It was a labor of love. And so we know that for all of you who worked on it, it was a sacrifice in one way or another. And we hope you like the film. We're so grateful. We always will be. And it's a real point of pride that almost everybody involved with the film was from Chicago. So hoping to other people will keep that up.
Yeah. Enjoy the film. Enjoy it. We got some fun people here to meet tonight from the film, and yeah, that's it. We kept it short. When we were practicing, we kept it so short. Anyway, thank you.
Have fun. See you after.
Just a quick reminder to turn off your cell phone.
Tasha Robinson, my co-moderator for this.
That is a hell of a movie. That is a lot of surprises in one
This is
film.
her first time seeing it, so she's still in shock.
I was right there with all of you, like seeing this for the first time. It was really exciting.
Let's bring up the director, Alex Thompson, back up. And the screenwriter and star of the film, Kelly O'Sullivan. Maybe you won't be surprised by this. I think in the opening remarks, Eric had mentioned to please fill out your ballot. But this actually won the audience award at South by Southwest. It didn't just play there, it like won the audience award. So if you want to see it happen 2 for 2, you know.
5 is a good one.
You know, 5 is the highest number. Let's just start from the beginning. Like this idea of you were actually a nanny at some point in your life, right? Tell us.
Yeah.
Did that inform what happened? Was there anything like this, or tell us sort of the origins of that part of the story?
Yeah, absolutely. So in my 20s, I nannied for 2 little girls, Ruby and Frances. And I knew Frances from the time that she was a week old. I held her and was terrified of holding her because I had never held a newborn before. And then I was with them until Frances was 3, and I think Ruby was 5 or 6 or something like that. So a lot of those experiences in the film are true, or things that actually happened.
This is a great sort of crossroads moment, a crossroads movie, like about a person who is maybe older than we think, and I don't mean that you're older than we think, I just mean that you deliberately sort of hold back her age for a little bit at the beginning. And I'm kind of wondering, like, tell me about the importance of her age, because I feel like it's a deliberately chosen number, and sort of how do you make someone like that because the thing I love about this movie is that these are people, these are not characters, these are people. I know people like this, but I'm wondering, how do you make this 34-year-old woman like a person rather than just a character?
Yeah, well, the age thing, I think 34 was really important to me because when I was writing it, I was 34. And for women, it's when, at least in my experience, everyone around you makes you highly aware of the fact that you are at an important age for having kids. Whether you decide not to, whether you're unsure. And a lot of my friends are having kids at this moment, and it just feels like everywhere I go, people are like, you gonna do it? Because if so, you gotta get on it. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And so it just feels like a highly pressurized age for women especially, and that if you haven't done certain milestone events, like gotten married, have kids, be on a very particular career path, that it can feel, for me, suffocating in the way that people look at you and judge you. And so I was interested in bringing that experience.
Isn't it crazy to be thought of as a geriatric at 35?
Yeah,
In certain circumstances?
It's insane.
There's so much of like aspects of being a woman, of the woman's experience, that I just saw on the screen that I've never seen on screen before. I mean, there's so many things in this movie that you're kind of normalizing. The idea of like suddenly having your period, just the actually seeing blood, like that doesn't happen in films a lot. Did you like consciously want to break taboos with this film?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because in you know, in pad commercials, the liquid they use is blue, and it's it's really weird. It's not what it looks like. And I feel like as women, we're under constant pressure to hide so much of what is inherent to being a woman. And like, I still catch myself like hiding if I am carrying a tampon to the bathroom, and I'm like actively trying to break myself of those habits. And so, I wanted I thought it was really important to have everything be super realistic. Especially when it came to dealing with abortion too.
Right. And I mean, at the same time, there's so many cinematic cliches around the things that happen in the movie that we have seen, like somebody unexpectedly discovering she's pregnant. I knew this movie was going to be special as soon as she realized she was pregnant because her breasts were swelling and not because she was vomiting in the morning.
Right.
Like there's so many cliches you avoid. Did that come naturally in the writing? Did you have to stop and think to yourself, no, this is how people do it all the time, I'm going to go another way with it?
It was both. It was consciously making the decision of, okay, what have we seen again and again in film? And another area where we were like, we're not going to do that version of the scene was looking at the pregnancy test, where it's like, we're not going to have that be like a 2-minute
Fade up with
weeping.
a smiley face.
Yeah, and then like the entire movie is not going to revolve around like, will she or won't she do this thing? It was really important that it was, she sees she's pregnant, I'm getting rid of it. And then it was like moving on with the plot.
As I understand it, you wrote the script and then brought it to Alex, like it was complete when you saw it?
No, no, it was, well, we lived together and we're dating, we've been dating. So I had like a first look deal on the couch. And so it was like, so Kelly like wrote 10 pages, and I think it was 10 pages at first. And I was working on something too, which at the time, many of the people in this room were actually like looking at, and they were like, okay, we're gonna make this movie. And Kelly's script was just, in 10 pages, was so much better than what I was writing. Just, oh my, just so much better. And I was like, well, we should probably let's just scrap this thing for now. You know, all engines go. And then it was just working on it, waiting for the new pages, and yeah, so really it was like from go, I was excited and hoping that nothing happened that made her say, you know what, I'm gonna go with someone else. So
I found out through an interview I read with Matt Fagerholm, who's somewhere here in this audience, I think, that you kind of got the idea of the vibe of this film from watching the documentary that we played here 2 years ago? Is that what it was, or was it?
I think it was last year.
Last year, about Hal Ashby, right, about Hal Ashby, a documentary called Hal. Talk about the influence of Hal Ashby in particular films that you had on this.
Well, this is what's funny about being a director is Kelly, of course, knew what this film was from go. And so I had to sort of find my way to it. And I knew it was great from the second I read it. I knew it was wonderful, and it made me laugh, and it made me cry. But I realized that I really had to get out of the way of this script. I really think that there's a difference between people who approach a film and try to like implant themselves onto it, tell their story on top of someone else's story, and I really didn't want to do that. I'm very disinterested in telling my story. And so I was like, well, what kind of filmmakers have done this before in the past? And I just happened to see Hal, which is this great documentary about Hal Ashby. Always loved Hal Ashby. I think everybody loves Hal Ashby. But in it, they showed clips from Coming Home, which was this movie that I kind of knew as this like cliche Vietnam War film, anti-war film. And I watched it, and I was just so struck by how it danced in this like really beautiful world of very emotional, risking sentimentality, but like in that way being very honest. And so that was an entry point where I was like, oh, we could shoot at something like this. Maybe we can do this.
Given how much of the humor in here is about some fairly private things about being a woman, was there anything that surprised you in the script? I'm thinking about stuff like the little ass check. If you've got a giant pad, that is not something that you see in film, or that you probably see your partner do. But I'm going to tell you, we do it all the time.
Yeah. I mean, it happens several times in the film, so by the time we got to the scenes, I wasn't surprised by them. No, nothing really surprised me. I was, well, go ahead.
I was just, well, also like we've been living together for 3 years.
So I do see that chat.
I've been living with my husband a lot longer than that. He's never seen me do that. And if he has, I don't want to hear about it.
One thing I was surprised by was how personally I started to take like the blood work right away. I was like, oh God, is this right? Is this, you know, I mean, Maggie O'Brien is here. She can speak to how specific that got. But I think on day one, we were so like uncertain that we were going in the right direction with our blood that we actually just went to a butcher shop and got, we sent our vegan producer, Ian Kaiser's here tonight, to go get cow's blood.
Which didn't work.
Which didn't work.
It doesn't look the same.
Yeah, so I'm sorry I didn't trust you in that moment, Maggie.
And then later we like got very specific about exactly, and like later on in the reshoots we brought in like the Chicago Med blood people, and so yeah, we
were
figured
amazing.
it out
Yeah,
as we went along.
And we wanted more blood. I mean, I wanted as much blood as possible. At one point, our sales team was like debating our log line, and as a joke, Kelly and I just got the "there will be blood" log line and replaced all the words like an enterprising 30-something. And they were like, "This is great." They had no idea at first.
We somehow managed to make it this far in the Q&A without actually talking about your Francis, and it would probably be a good idea. Ramona, if you're out there still, can you come on up and join us for a second? Oh, there she is. Let's just first ask, how long did it take to find her? Let's start with you. Yeah, let's see.
Well,
how did you know she was the one?
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty clear. But we worked with PR casting. Nikki Caskell, Jennifer Rudnicki, and AJ Links are all here tonight, which is incredible. And they brought in a lot of young women who were all wonderful, but AJ came to us with a commercial for Swedish Covenant, and it was like an improvised thing where I believe Ramona was talking about where babies come from, and I don't think she really knew. And AJ was like, I've got a pretty good feeling about this person you're about to see. And do you remember that, Dave? At all, when you auditioned for us? With us? Yeah. Were we like weird? Were you like, why these people? Yeah, what were you thinking?
I was thinking I would get the job to do this movie.
Ramona, did you have a favorite scene that you did?
The ice skating one, of course.
So Ramona is a really, really talented ice skater, like legitimately amazing. And so that was not originally written into the script. Originally it was written that Franny would play soccer. And then when the first time we hung out with Ramona after she was cast, we went down to the ice skating rink and you were like, let me just show you some stuff. And so she was skating around and she was incredible. And that was written into the script because of how amazing she is. And do you still want to be a professional ice skater?
Yeah.
Well, you can do it.
Ramona, you have to spend a lot of the film pretending that you really don't like Bridget, like being really mad at her. Was that hard?
I don't really know.
Well, something that was so cool that I loved that you did was you would come up to me and you would be like, "Are we friends yet?" You would be like, "Are Franny and Bridget friends yet in this scene?" Do you remember that?
It's been a long time. I can't remember.
It's been like a seventh of her life since we filmed it. But I thought, so one of the most incredible things about Ramona's performance is her parents who are here tonight prepared her in such an amazing way. So many of the girls who we saw were overcoached and would be like an adult's version of what a kid is, which is like, I'm sassy and I'm cute. And instead, Lucy, Ramona's mom, prepared her in such an incredible way. Lucy would tell her the story of the scene and would tell her the story of the script. And so Ramona understood it from that point of view and was never coached on exactly how to say it, which I think is like, you're an incredible actor, but then also knowing that that's the way to get a realistic, natural performance from a child is amazing.
Yeah, of course. My favorite scene in the film actually involves the two of you. That is the confession scene. To even put Ramona in the position of the priest and you confessing to her, I was like, oh, where is this going to go? Like, this is not a safe place. But talk about that scene and just how you came up with that idea. And Ramona, tell me just what do you remember about that scene? You have a lot to say, including like a prayer.
I just had so much fun doing that one. I have a lot of fun doing every single one.
Yeah, that scene was really special too because we were in that church at DePaul all day and it was really fun to you were running around in your dress and it was really kind of special and sweet actually not to be able to see each other, which was, I think the point of that scene is that having totally non-judgmental love lets you say things that are really vulnerable. So in the very first draft of the script, that was just like a normal priest confession scene. And then after the first draft, I was like, I had this crazy idea that it should be Franny. And so then there were about 20 different versions of that scene before it was simplified down into what it is now. But I love that scene too, and I think there's so many things about Ramona's performance in that scene that are incredible, including the prayer, which is, we were just like, just make some sounds and sprinkle some fairy dust, and it was better than I could have ever imagined.
How did the three of you work together? Was there a lot of rehearsal, or was it a kind of a looser process? How did you get to the level of comfort that you have with the film?
My mom would practice my lines with me. My mom would pretend she's Bridget, and then I would be Francis.
So I think a lot of when you're on set, it's very quick. So intimacy is sort of hard to. It's both forged in how quick it is, but it's also sort of hard to come by too. And so when somebody comes, Kelly and Ramona both came really prepared. So a lot of it was just people here who were on set can attest to it. When Ramona was on set, it was just a very different environment than when Ramona was not on set. I think many of us would be crying at the end of takes because of how just plainly adorable she was, and I don't know, it was just, we spent some time hanging out when we were watching ice skate and stuff like that, but for the most part it was just when we were there.
We have time for, that's what Mark here, but we have a microphone right here in this aisle. If you guys have questions, we got time for a few. Just start lining up. We'll get one more question up here, and then we'll go to the audience. So,
So I'm curious how much of the film kind of you found in editing. Like, a lot of the humor here is in the writing, and then a lot of it's in the performance, but you also get a lot of really great gags just out of editing, and a lot of really great emotions out of some of these montages together. What was the editing process like?
I went away for like a week to my folks' place in Kentucky, and just made this was before pickups. So we cut like 2-hour cut and cut it down. And the goal was always to like maintain momentum. So we knew that there were a lot of scenes. Kelly kind of thought about Lady Bird and like the short, sparse, concise scenes. So kind of like thinking about heads and tails and making sure everything flows together. But then when we did pickups, that was when we shot the very first scene with Brad Smith. The broke, jobless, you know, that monologue that he delivers so magically. And that's when I think the movie kind of started to make sense from a momentum perspective. So certain things lived in the edit always in like my head, like the roommate scene where he's playing video games. That was something where I was like, I think I know exactly what this is. And Danny made all that up. I mean, yeah, who's Max's real roommate, actually. So yeah, Danny's amazing. Is Danny here? That'd be great if he was here. But yeah, so I mean, it was all in the script to begin with, but then editing, we sent it off to Sophie Marshall, who's an incredible editor. She gave like notes, like 6 pages, single-spaced notes. I implemented every one of her notes, and that's sort of the film that you're watching.
I have a question for Kelly, mostly. It's so fun as a Chicago theater fan to watch all these Chicago actors that you've seen on stage, and I'm wondering, given your theatrical background, if you wrote, because like seeing Frank Guinan is so perfectly himself in that role, and seeing Megan Greer just like deliver that line in her perfect way, how much, or was any of that written for those people, or how did you cast that?
Yeah, so a lot of the parts were chiefly Lily and Shireen, and they're here. I wrote the who played mom. I'm just like a huge fan of them, and an enormous fan of their work. And so when I started to think about who were 2 women that we instantly love and that we're going to be rooting for the entire time, they both bring such natural warmth to everything that they do, and their faces do so much of the work. You know, they don't even have to say anything, and you just love them. And so I wrote those parts for them just like as inspiration. And then for a reading, we reached out and we were like, if they could just do the reading. And then they did the reading, and then we were like, can we ask them to do it? Will they do it? And they said yes, and it felt like, I mean, it's still the best day when they said yes. And so many of those parts that are Chicago actors were written specifically for them. Mary Beth Fisher, who plays my mom, I've always wanted her to play my mom, and this was an awesome way, you know, she and Fran Guinan went down to Starved Rock and were helping carry equipment through the woods for 8 hours 8 hours at a time, and that just doesn't happen. And so we have such an incredibly rich pool of actors in Chicago theater, and it's just incredible to be able to write for people and then they say yes. I feel so lucky to live in this city because of that.
Yeah. The soundtrack was very nice, tied in with the whole acoustic guitar thing. Can you talk about how that was written and where you found Quinn?
Yeah. So Quinn San and Alex Babbitt, who Alex is here. So Quinn and I have worked together. She did the soundtrack to my last film, Brother Sister, and I directed a series of dance videos for her. But we just kind of been in the same circles for a while, and I mean, it's a real example of like when you put your trust in someone and really commit to allowing them to see their vision through. I've worked a lot with people who I micromanage their task to the point where neither of us are happy with it. That doesn't seem like a particularly brave confession, I'm sure. But with Quinn, so all the temp music was like way out of our league. It was like it was the Rolling Stones, it was Burt Bacharach, it was Simon and Garfunkel, and that is the mix that we got into South by Southwest on. So like, we got in on a rough cut with all this like real fancy music, and I was like, man, how is it ever going to live up to all that stuff? And Quinn and I had been talking for a long time. Alex and I and Quinn had been talking for a long time. And at a certain point, she was just like, okay, we're going to start recording now, and there won't be notes. We're going to give you what it is. And we kind of knew that. We were like, well, we don't have the budget to go back in there. And so this is what I got. And I feel so lucky because it exceeded all my expectations. And I think it unifies the film in such a beautiful way. Especially, who needs all those dude voices like Mick Jagger? I mean, I don't need that. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question, but it was really just to get up here. This was absolutely amazing, guys. Really, really astounding. So, like, 2 seconds, the humans at ATC changed my life. It was so amazing. So, okay, and the question is, how's it working with the guy who played Presbelusky in The Wire?
Jim Trufrost, who plays this terrible guitar playing teacher, the guy of my nightmares. Jim Trufrost is an incredible person, an incredible actor, and we talked to PR about this, and they were like, email him, he'd be great. And we were like, he'll never say yes. He'll never say yes. And then he said yes, and we were like, we cried. We literally cried when he said yes. And I love him so much in this film because he's the sweetest man. And so the way that he plays this to me is very unexpected. He like humanizes this character that really is a caricature, and I recognize that as a writer. I'm like, I wrote him in not a very realistic way. But there are guys like that out there. And he's incredible. He was so nice. He came to South by Southwest. He brought his son. He's sweet. He like texted us this morning and he was like, good luck, guys. So he's awesome. He's really wonderful.
Well, you've talked a bit about working with the people in Chicago. What about the locations? Do you have any particular memories of location shopping in Chicago?
Carol Debo's house. Who's here?
Yeah, so, I mean, that comes back to Nikki and Jennifer again. They very, very briefly, when we were in the very earliest stages of casting, Mickey was like, you know, this house would be perfect. And she like turned to Jennifer. She's like, yeah, it's Carol Debo's place, right? And she's like, wow, it's a really nice place. And up in Wilmette, right? And it like stuck in my brain because when you're an independent like producer director, you just like are very hungry for opportunity to take advantage of people. If somebody's like, well, I have an ice cream truck if you ever need one, you're like, ice cream truck. Great, that's second meal. But yeah, we went up to, we found Carol's house, and she actually was so excited about us not using it, she recommended a neighbor. She was like, you really should go see him, his place is great, and yeah. And honestly, Carol became like a part of the family immediately. And that was what was so perfect about it.
That's a classic Russ Meyer piece of advice about independent filmmaking is write a movie around what you have access to. Yeah, so.
Well, and our apartment was Bridget's apartment too. So.
Just before I forget, I wanted to see like, what is because I believe this film that you're watching does not have a distributor yet that's been announced at least, and where are we with that, and where are we with, what are you hoping in terms of release?
Well, yeah, that's true. We do not as yet have a distributor. We are in talks and excited to talk once we know more. We're working with a great sales team. They're doing their best. Great sales team, Visit Films. Yeah, so we're really excited. I think all the offers right now on the table do include a theatrical release this year, I believe. So, and that includes really hoping we'll get to see the movie on a big screen again. Yeah,
Would it help at all if people here who really love the film got on social media and told all their friends and family?
It would help so much. I'm pretty sure we have a Twitter. I think Raphael set that up. And so tweet at us. We're always St. Francis Movie, Instagram, Facebook. We really do, like, every day we refresh, like searching St. Francis Movie. We really do read everything. We're excited about everything, even the bad reviews.
Which there are none yet. Okay, guys, thank you so much for coming and letting us show the movie here. One more. Love having you all. Thank you guys for sticking around. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you standing there. You weren't there before.
I'd like to say congratulations to the executive producer, Raphael Nash. Who's here. And could you let me know what positive influence he had on the film?
Oh, big time.
Do we have time? So Raphael came on really early. For those who don't know, incredible filmmaker, adjunct professor at DePaul, and he was just involved from script.
From early readings, and just really kept the train on track the entire time, and his incredible presence to be around.
And on set, I would say, I don't want to say more than anyone, but I think he would share this. I think Raphael Nash is the reason why, if we make another film and we ask the same people to make it with us, they would say yes. I'll never not work with Raphael. I hope he'll never not work with me. But yeah, does that answer the question? He's an incredible human being, and everybody should seek him out.
Are you guys going to hang out in the lounge and talk to people if they want to say hi?
Yeah, we'll be out there. Ramona, are you going to stick around?
Yeah.
Okay. But I know you guys want to see that, so thank you guys for sticking around. We got to clear out the theater for the next film. Thank you all again.